great to have you here on the Clark Howard Show, where our mission is to serve you with advice and information that empowers you so you make better financial decisions in your life. And I was talking the other day about using credit cards responsibly to your advantage. And today I'm going to talk about what many use as an alternative to them, debit cards. You know, I call them the piece of trash fake Visa or fake MasterCard for a reason. Also, I've been asked what credit cards I carry and why I've updated what I use. And I'm going to tell you about a new tool you can use to help you pick the best card for you as long as you pay off your balances in full every month. Okay, so story after story keeps popping up about how disgustingly terrible the piece of trash fake Visa and fake MasterCard are. You look at one and it looks like you're using a real credit card, a Visa or MasterCard credit card. But the reality is it's a piece of trash. And the reason it's trash is because the banks fought in Congress to prevent you having consumer protections on a debit card like you have on a credit card. And the banks just sit there and laugh behind your back and my back as you get ripped off to the end of the earth. So the rules governing a debit card, totally different. And they are based on an obscure federal statute. And so the burden is all on you as a consumer. And so let's say somebody gets a hold of your debit card number, just like they might get a hold of your credit card number. Let's look at the differences. With a credit card, what's your liability risk for stolen card number being used? Would you guess it is 0? Would you guess it's $50? Those are the two guesses, because under federal law, the maximum you're liable for is $50. But most of the credit card issuers now have capped at 0 liability. So with a credit card, that number gets stolen, your physical card gets stolen, you have at max $50 liability. As long as you're not in a deep sleep like a bear hibernating for winter, and you let 2 billing cycles go by before you notice, and then after 60 days, it's bad on you, not on them. And then you'd be out the money. All right, let's talk about a debit card. The 60 days on a debit card is 2 days. 2 days. You have 2 days from when you notice that there was a fraudulent charge made or debit from your debit card. You have 2 days to notify your financial institution. If you notice in 2 days, your liability is capped at $50. Otherwise, it's capped at $500. And here's the bad part. What happens with a credit card? There was a charge to your account. That's all. What happens with a debit card? The money is gone from your checking account, and you're then fighting with your bank or credit union to try to get your own money that was stolen from your account restored to your account. And there's a USA Today story that ran recently about case after case after case where somebody's card number was compromised. Not even their card. They still had their card. And the bank's like, tough, we're not giving the money back. Then they detailed one after another, after another, after another. Wait, but it gets worse. You buy something with a debit card online from an online seller, and the stuff doesn't come, With a debit card, you lose the money. With a credit card, you dispute the charge for failure to receive goods and services, which I talked about the wonderful protections that credit cards have on a recent podcast. The debit card is a piece of trash that burns your cash. Ooh, that's new. I never said that before. I like that. Good rhyme. Piece of trash that burns your cash. And see, here's the thing. The bankers are idiots. This is an example of short-sighted stupidity on the part of the banks. The banks love for you to use a debit card. So why not provide real protections with it and encourage the Congress, instead of fighting the Congress, giving consumers real protections with teeth using a debit card? Because then people would be more likely and willing to use a debit card. Duh! Those of you who listened to me for a long time have heard me tell the story about a late Wisconsin senator named William Proxmire, who I think it was in the late 1960s. The banks were using every bit of lobbying power possible to prevent any consumer protections for credit cards. Credit cards were new then, and nobody would use them because they were so risky. And Proxmire is sitting there up on his Senate dais, and he's saying to these bank loco people, you realize if you would put in protections, people would actually want to carry your cards. And the bank still fought it. Proxmire got it through, put in place the wonderful consumer protections we have on credit cards today, and the rest is history. Credit cards exploded in popularity. You treat people right. Why bankers don't get that, I don't understand. But you need to understand how dangerous a debit card is to carry and use. Now, as I have said, if you know you can't handle a credit card, and if you have a credit card, you'll charge yourself into oblivion of debt, then it is the least bad choice for you to use a debit card. I shouldn't have to say least bad choice. If they would provide actual real protections, I'd be fine with you using that debit card. Coming up next, we're going to talk about how I have adjusted what credit I'm using, what credit cards I'm using, and why, and how I make those decisions and how they can be helpful to you making decisions what you're carrying in your wallet. If you watch football like I do, the only time I ever see commercials all year long on television is football season. And it's interesting to me how the mix of commercials has changed so much. It used to be dominated by car companies and beer ads. And now it seems that there's one after another credit card ad and cell phone company ad. And the credit card companies are in such a market share war. They fight and they claw and they scratch to get customers. And right now, we have more people running balances on cards than we've had at any time in memory. People are not in the same numbers paying balances in full. And it's a direct reflection on what's happened with incomes in the United States and the cost of living with the inflationary cycle from COVID. And so a lot of Americans, particularly in the lower half of income earners in the United States, are using credit cards to survive month to month with bills and are running balances on these cards at an average interest rate now of somewhere around 25%. It's 25%, depending on how you've shopped around for cards. And then we've got almost half of the population that uses credit cards only as a payment system. And I've talked recently about what you should be doing. If you missed that, I'll just say very briefly, the big thing is not to go with who's soliciting you for credit cards if you run balances, but to run to a credit union, not walk, get a credit union card, because the interest rate charged on credit union cards on average is half for someone of the same credit score what it is from a big bank. Half the interest. Huge difference in your life. That's all I'm going to say about that today. Because I'm talking today about people who pay their balances in full and how you make the decision what to carry. Truth, most of us do best if you pay your balances in full with cashback cards. If you're not into travel and you're a member of a warehouse club, or you're a member of both two of the three major warehouse clubs, which I am, Sam's and Costco, I carry Sam's Club's MasterCard. I carry, they got to cover that number. For those watching the YouTube show, I carry the Costco Visa card because of all the cash back you earn as a warehouse club shopper, no annual fee with either. That has not changed in my life. And then for cash back, I carry the Navy Federal credit card as Navy Federal member. I have the 2% cash back card. And that's how I handle the things that I do shopping routinely. But I have made a change in the mix of how I use cards because my wife and I, now that we're empty nesters, are traveling a ton. I mean, a crazy amount internationally and domestic. I just love it. And we're doing a lot of it. And so the cards that I carry that are the change in the mix that I've gotten over the last 2 years as we were anticipating being empty nesters, the Capital One Venture X and the Chase Sapphire Reserve. And for the business side, because I have corporate cards, I have the American Express Platinum. So I have the big three of the independent travel reward cards. I don't know anybody else on earth that would make sense for. But I have all three of the ones that make you a free agent, and you can earn points and use them a bunch of different places. You got lounge accesses of various types when you travel a lot, and you have to have a lot of charge volume over the course of the year to make these cards work. And so, but personally, I've got the 5 cards I just talked about, the Sam's MasterCard, the Costco Visa, the Navy Federal 2% cash back, the Chase Sapphire Reserve, and the Venture X. Now, the Reserve, nothing has an annual fee except the Reserve has a huge one, and the Venture X has a huge one. But I'm able to net out the cost to less than zero with both of them because of the perks that come with them and the free travel you get and all that with them. And then there's the 6th card I carry that I've carried for a generation. The Southwest Rapid Rewards Visa that I have for this reason, because every year, combination of flying and charging, I earn the companion pass. And since 2006, my wife has flown free with me every flight all year long on Southwest Airlines. And so that is my mix. If I was not a traveler, I wouldn't have any of those 3. I would only have cashback cards with no annual fee. But in my case, because I travel so much, I have these cards. And the Southwest is kind of an outlier only because of that companion pass. They do away with that, I wouldn't carry that card, because being a captive with an airline card is such a ripoff. The airlines, just on a whim at any moment, can change how many points it takes to go somewhere. The beauty of the Chase card, the Capital One, and the American Express Platinum is that you can transfer points you have to any of a variety of airlines. And whoever's got the best deal on the trip you want to take, you make sure it's available, then you instant transfer. Most of the programs are instant transfer. You book it, and you're going on points. So that is my mix. But I will tell you, the credit cards tied in with the airlines, as a general rule, are fool's gold. They are not worth having. For your individual situation, we have developed, with great effort and expense, a credit card tool that you can use to figure out for your personal situation what card is actually best, or card combinations are best for you to carry to get you the most bang for your buck. And so if you go to clark.com/credit card tool, you'll see how to use it.